Welcome to another episode of Exit Philosophy. He's Mal, I'm Griff. And once again, thanks to all our viewers and listeners for your support, ever-growing support, which we really appreciate. And if you enjoy us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, don't forget to like, share with your friends, and leave us a comment. We always like to hear what you're thinking on these things. We'll begin with the fact, Mal, that we said all through the spring that with the strength of schedule or lack of strength of schedule, that the Jays needed to be 6-3 minimum through the first 9 games, but 7-2 would be a better option for them. And here they sit 4-5 after series against the Athletics, the Rockies, and the White Sox, and being swept by the White Sox is sort of an ignominious way to go into the series against the Dodgers. I mean, what did you think of the first 9 games and their lack of success?
Well, after the first 3 games, we're talking about 9-0, and it felt like maybe that would be possible too with the, White Sox and Rockies up next. So, I mean, I think everybody's pretty disappointed. There's no question. And it's not so much, when you lose games to those teams, you're not playing well, and it doesn't look good. I think that's the concern, is how it looks, not so much about, losing games. They've been sloppy. They're not hitting, clearly. And they've just been big moments. They're just not where you want them to be. I don't know. It just hasn't looked great.
Yeah, I mean, the White Sox series, they go in there, the Thursday game is rained out, so that's why they build in a Friday off day. They play on the Friday, and it really doesn't affect the Blue Jays rotation moving forward, and we'll get into that as they face the Dodgers and then move forward to a next series with only 4 healthy starters at this point. But they lose 5-4 in extra innings, and there's reasons to point to. They lose 6-3. There's reasons to point to, and then they get shut down 3-0 in the finale. So it's crazy that everybody goes, it's early in the season, they can overcome that. But these are teams that last season, on their way to the American League Championship, they beat later in the season, and they were very important series wins. Right. So just because you're playing them early, they're still very important series wins. They're teams that you should beat if you're going to pretend to be American League contenders, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, and like you said, I think the competition, you just know that you're not playing. I mean, the Dodgers are coming, so the schedule is going to get tougher. So it is early. There's no question. I mean, we both know 162 baseball. It's beautiful. You can lose to anybody anytime, but it just feels like they need to get their act together here real quick before, you don't want something slipping away where you're 5, 6, 7 games under 500 and you're fighting that battle for a couple months just to get even.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like they're 4-5. It feels like they're far worse than that. But, as you point out, 162 game season, and as everyone, and we always point out, but to win 90 games, you can only afford 67 more losses. That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's right. That's
well said. A 2 out of 3, a sweep somewhere in the next couple of weeks, and all will seem right with the world. And by the mid-season, this will be in the rearview mirror, these first 9 games. But we said they should be 6-3.
Right.
They should be 7-2. And then as you pointed out, after the first 3 games, it looked rosy. It looked like, wow, 7-2 might be a miscalculation. They could be way better than that. And then now look at them. I mean, the White Sox series, it's embarrassing in that Grant Taylor, an opener, pitched 2 days in a row. 1 inning, 2 days in a row. Then they handed it over to what last season was a horrible bullpen, and they shut the Jays down enough in both games for the next 8 innings. And consider Grant Taylor's also a bullpen guy. So 18 innings of bullpen, and they couldn't win a game,
Right. Well, you win 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, and everything's good again, I suppose. So, you never know. You never know.
Yeah, they scored 7 runs in 22 innings, and that's not good enough against anybody. But it should be better than that. And then there apparently was a flu epidemic going through the clubhouse, but no defining description by John Schneider or anyone in the clubhouse. The only guy that we know was suffering was Eric Lauer, who, to his credit, took the ball and went to the mound on Sunday to try and get through, knowing that the bullpen was under stress. So he pitched 3 innings, gave up 2 runs, didn't strike anybody out. He struck out 9 in his first outing. So clearly was affected. But I don't know what you think, having been in the clubhouse, having been with the front office, but I don't see the downside of explaining who was suffering from the flu and maybe letting the fans know that they were doing their best under stressful conditions.
I think there's a trend in sports, but I mean, I think the Blue Jays are somewhat worse than others. There's just a air of not telling people what's going on, like there's some sort of, top secret that just the honesty is just be honest. What's the harm in that? People understand it's life. There's no competitive advantage, and it's like with injuries, it's always some sort of, trying not to give out information for some reason, and I just never understood that. So this is another one. Just who's sick? It's okay.
Well, when I was there for the 4 years in PR from 2019 to 22, there was a push from some in the front office to go to the hockey reference, upper body, lower body, which I opposed.
Right.
It's not like you could go after a guy's aching body part like you can in hockey or NFL football. But they should go upper body, lower body, and inner body for the flu. He's suffering.
No, I mean, not to criticize too much, but I lived through that too. Just trying to educate maybe and suggest that telling people what's actually going on is okay. Not be scared to make a statement and scared to say why a guy came out of the game other than contusion. And his legs hanging.
Trump's giving the Iranians 2 days notice that he's going to bomb the hell out of them. So and they can't say who's got the flu.
I think I got it now. What's going on? It's going around. Holy smokes! Yeah, but I've got an inner body injury.
Is there any possibility? And this is like an old excuse forever in sports, that they were looking ahead to the Dodgers.
Well, they shouldn't have been. Let's hope. I don't think so. Baseball's an everyday thing. You show up, you get dressed, and you go out and play that game. I don't think you're thinking about tomorrow's opponent at any point in time. No, I just think they're not in a good space right now. And obviously, outside of not playing well, I mean, flu bug injuries are piling up, right? It's kind of set them back a little more than you would have thought coming into the season. I mean, these pitching injuries have hurt them. I mean, they're just behind the 8 ball a little bit, and thank God they had a bunch of guys. But it's this, you need 10, 11, 12 starters in this league. It's kind of tough, but they're feeling it right out of the chute.
I got 2 questions for you before we move on. What's happened to the David Popkins magic? I mean, it's the same guy who sort of was in his rookie year as a batting coach last year, and it took a while and it developed, and these guys really roared down the stretch in terms of treating every at bat the same and runners in scoring position, etc. What do you think the problem there is? I mean, he's back for a second year.
I don't know if there's a problem. I think, Griff, it's fair to say that everybody, I mean, hey, it's 9 games in, but everybody had a career year last year. I mean, it was one of those magical seasons, right? you know, from Tyler Heineman to Schneider to Springer, even Bo, like everybody played at their level or above it. And I think you got to see some regression with this team. I think that's just natural. So, I mean, obviously nothing's going well right now, but I don't know if there is any Popkins magic, you know.
Here's another question for you. Having been inside the clubhouse, we both have, but the start that they had last year in 25 is pretty similar to the start that they had this year. But this year's start, they can point to how they turned it around last year. Last year, they were coming off a 74-win season, and it made it more difficult to even believe yourself as a player or as a coach that this could turn around easily. But do you feel like the fact that they are who they are from last year is going to help them get through this struggle at the start of this year?
Yeah, if you believe you're a top tier team, like I said, it's 9 games in. You don't overreact in baseball, right? Like if they come out and win 2 out of 3, beat the Dodgers, everything's right in the world, you know, and you just get the thing headed in the right direction. I don't think there'll be any concerns at this point. You haven't played well. I mean, it happens. The Dodgers will go through this stretch too, right? It stands out when it's the first start of the season, first road trip. It looks, you know, it stands on its own a little more. Like say, do it in July and you don't notice as much. But you got to play better. There's no question. If they come in and get waxed by the Dodgers, then you're going to be scared and concerned. There's no question.
Before we move on to the relief pitcher segment, the Sky is Falling Brendon Little segment. Let me just go over some offensive numbers after 9 games. Alejandro Kirk, of course, is out for a while. 3 for 20 with a homer and 2 RBIs. Nathan Lucas, and we both feel that there's a loyalty factor there, that he was protected coming out of spring training, even by numbers where they're carrying 7 outfielders, maybe 8 if you count Springer. And Lucas 2 for 15, 2 RBIs. Dalton Varsho, who had a really good spring, 5 for 29 with 1 RBI, batting in the middle of the order. Addison Barger, 1 for 19, 2 RBIs, and who knows how long he's going to be out with a pair of aching ankles. George Springer, 6 for 38, 2 homers, 3 RBIs. And the total for those total for those 5 guys, 17 hits in 9 games. That's among the 5 guys, that's less than 2 hits a game. 17 for 121, 140 batting average, 3 homers, 10 RBIs. I mean, that explains a lot.
It does. And like I said, last year they were all performing above expectation, right? For the season. So when you come in and they just don't carry on the way they ended the season, you get a little antsy out of the gate. So it'll be like we said it before. I said it. I didn't think Lucas and Schneider should really be on the team. And they lost a player because of it. They lost Jimenez, who they could have used and is not a 0. There's just no reason to lose a guy. You could have sent somebody down.
Yeah, well, we pointed out when Ernie Clement fouled the ball off his foot and Davis Schneider had already been taken out of the game. He was in the starting lineup, got pinch hit for. If Clement had to come out of the game, there was nobody you couldn't manipulate that infield and have anybody up the middle. I mean, you had Jimenez still at short, but there was nobody to go in and play second base.
Like nobody.
So I'm sure they're thinking about that as they come home to face the Dodgers. And like we said, we're recording on Monday morning before the Dodgers series. So hopefully that turns it around. So next week we have something more positive to talk about. But speaking about not having something positive to talk about, let's talk about the bullpen. And is it a mess, or is it just that Brendon Little has been on the mound for 13 to 18 runs allowed by Bullpen. He's had 3 inherited runners that all came in to score, and he's given up 10 of his own runs and needed to be sent down. All of his changes that he made at spring training of being able to get the ball up in the zone, of being able to throw strikes, get ahead in the count, then use his devastating out of the zone breaking ball down low. That was accomplished at spring training against AAA guys because he was coming in late in the game and the lineups were all AAA guys, which he's now going to have a chance to dominate because he's been optioned. But what's your thought on how long they waited, how much trust they kept in him, how they didn't do it earlier, option him out even though it was obvious from his body language and his results?
Well, that's the thing.
Ready.
He's got that deer in the headlights look, right? The minute he's like, I don't belong here kind of feel. And I feel for the guy. And then you come in. I mean, the most alarming thing is giving up the home runs to lefties. It's not like, it was right-handed hitters that got him. He gave up home runs to guys he needs to get out. That's his job, the lefties. But they put him in big spots too, right? So that's the thing. Like, it's not like they were.
I think that maybe I'm right. I think Mason Fluharty had already passed him in terms of being the big spot guy. But there have been games early on where they had no option other than to go to him. It's like when they went to that extra inning game in the World Series. They had no plan in the world of ever using Brendon Little again. And he ended up being the guy because he had to be the guy.
Yeah, fair enough. And he wasn't the guy.
No. So they had guys eligible, in terms of what they finally did with Joe Mantiply and they had and Austin both. They had guys ready to go on the 60-day IL. So, and which they did. They put their 2 players that were long-term injuries on the IL, made room for additional roster spots. So it's not like you were stuck having to call up either Chase Lee or Adam Mako, who were the only 2 relievers in the minors on the 40-man roster. So they finally did it, but it might be just too little too late. And they could see, John Schneider could see, Pete Walker can see from the dugout that deer in the headlight. And it's been going on since probably the middle of last season.
That's right.
But they were deceived by the spring training results. And as we have said since all winter, spring training results should be by and large ignored. I mean,
and again, it just feels like they just wanted to take the same group north with them. You know what I mean? Like, almost like it was a reward. Like you didn't want to change the roster too much until now. Obviously, you have no choice when the season starts to play out. But it just felt like we're going to reward the guys, and nobody's going to lose their spot, so to speak, until they literally lose it by their performance. So, here we are, I guess. So changes needed to be made, and they have. So hopefully he finds it down there.
Yeah, we also mentioned the Dick Lovelady rule, where what you see on opening day isn't necessarily what you're going to see by the end of April. And the Blue Jays, and what's the date? April 6th, as we record, have already used 17 pitchers.
How are the Mets finding that rule out? How's that going? I don't know. Have anybody checked on Richard Dick?
I think they handed Dick a mop, and that's his role. So, so 17 pitchers, and we're only 9 games into the season. Of course, one of those pitchers is Tyler Heineman that we'll get to a little later.
Very key figure.
Yeah. I have now the question of the injury bug. Alejandro Kirk was a huge loss. Tyler Heineman, and we'll get to Tyler Heineman soon because we've got other things to say about Tyler Heineman. But the Alejandro Kirk injury, and we don't know when he'll be back. It was a freak injury. I mean, a foul tip. There's nothing you can do. All you're trying to do is catch the third strike or whatever. And it was a big situation. Full count. They had a 1-run lead. Runner on third base. Full count, and he's out. I mean, he left the field immediately. You could tell that he was really
broken. And I thought it was a pretty intelligent move to bunt there. Just test the guy right away, right?
Right away. I'll disagree with you on that. I mean, right away, test the guy right away, and that's the end of the game if he passes the test.
It's true. It's true. There's no question. But
we'll get to that. Instead, Tyler Heineman panicked.
Actually, I don't hate Valenzuela, but I mean, obviously, Kirk is a big loss. There's no question about it. So
I'm gonna ask John Schneider today about the breakdown that he foresees between Brandon Valenzuela and Heineman. Because I believe that it should be at least 50-50. Valenzuela should get his chance. I mean,
for sure.
There's a reason that you're at 34 years old, you're still a backup catcher. It's like when I was with the Expos and we flew to Syracuse for an exhibition game. We had the AAA team in Syracuse at the time. And I'm sitting in the press box and the guy goes, hey, we're lucky. We got the senior umpire in the International League. I said, if he's the senior umpire in the International League, that makes it horseshit. I mean, he's still around, never got promoted, and this is his job. He's a AAA.
No question.
That was what I thought of when I saw Tyler Heineman getting the nod as the starting catcher, moving on down the road. Yeah. I think a 24-year-old Valenzuela who catches and throws better than Heineman, and they're both switch hitters. I don't care if any other team has ever had 2 switch hitting catches. It doesn't make any difference. They got to be decent. So.
Yeah, that's right.
But then to continue with the injuries, Addison Barger with another freak injury. I mean, leaping for the bag. We see that all the time. Stretching out as far as he can.
Yep.
You're out of step. You're not going to hit it with a regular. The regular step that you're taking, and he jammed his left ankle. It didn't seem that serious, but it could be a little bit of a sprain that'll keep him out for a little bit.
Lower body.
Yeah, lower body, right? But and then Ernie Clement, I thought that was going to be serious injury. He fouled the ball off his inside top of his left foot, and it didn't look like. But he's a gamer. I mean, basically they're all gamers. But he didn't want to leave, and there was nobody to take his place anyway. I'm not sure whether John Schneider whispered in his ear, "You can't leave the game. We have nobody." Yeah. But then he started the next day. So everybody.
Yeah, it looked scary.
The way that Ernie Clement plays. Yeah,
that's right.
So now all these injuries, and the Jays go out and sign Patrick Corbin. Seems not to fill any of the needs that they have, except Cody Ponce.
Well,
but this is what we've been saying. They keep downplaying the injuries to the pitchers. Jose Barrios, he can pitch. He's pitching. It was an insurance issue going to Puerto Rico, going to play in the WBC. And now he's throwing, but he's not even on the radar. They don't mention Jose Barrios' name. And we've speculated about why. And you have the other injured pitchers, Yasavich, who seems to be on the verge of extending or stretching himself out to be ready to throw, and Shane Bieber, who the update is coming off Tommy John surgery, which was in May of 24.
Yeah,
that he's taking it slow. which
Well,
seemed,
we said he wasn't going to be back soon. So,
and clearly the signing of Corbin indicates that.
Yeah, they needed a guy. So, and hey, you could do worse. I mean,
But it makes you wonder why all winter there was no interest in Patrick Corbin from 29 other teams, from 30 teams, including the Blue Jays.
Well, and part of I think we talked about this briefly, but we talk about building pitchers up, slow, and then Corbin walks in and throws 90 pitches. It's like, let's give me a break sometimes, right? I mean, take the ball and throw it.
Yeah. Dan Schulman on the broadcast on Sunday was talking about the relationship between Max Scherzer and Patrick Corbin. They were teammates in Washington for a year, and they lived down the street from one another in Jupiter, Florida. And they're good friends, and they were and you wonder how much influence that had in terms of, obviously they went and asked Scherzer what kind of a guy Patrick Corbin was in the clubhouse, but Scherzer did exactly the same thing. He came to spring training and threw 70 pitches like within 2 days,
Right.
Signed a contract and was on the mound. Makes you wonder if spring training is just a money grab.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
tell the guys to show up like the Ironbacks on June 1st and be ready for June 6th.
Yeah. Well, but even like how kid gloves, we take everything with, even Yasevich, oh my God, like God forbid, you just, sometimes if you're going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. I mean, I don't know if throwing 40 pitches one day and then 50 the next time, and like, I don't know, like it can be done. It can be done.
Yeah. And it has been done for years and years and years with lesser medical and rehabilitation ability.
Right.
And okay, there are guys, and that was when pitchers were pitchers, because if you had an injured arm, you didn't really tell anybody. You just adjusted your stuff to get you through 7, 8, 9 innings.
You didn't want to go on the DL.
Yeah. And I'm sure that there are like 100, 300 inning major league players now whining about kids being pampered and babied. And these 100 guys can't wipe their own ass, Yeah. It's like their arm is just done.
Yeah.
But you and I both agree that they go over the top sometimes in terms of, especially coming up through the minor leagues, where they baby them and piggyback guys, your best prospects, 40 pitches, and then they get to the majors and they're expected to only throw 5 or 6.
And the problem, Griff, I get it. I mean, clearly, if you throw more pitches, you're putting more strain on the arm. I mean, it's common sense. But there's sometimes I feel like there's not enough balance between, bringing a guy along and worrying about his health and learning how to pitch, learning how to win games, learning how to face a guy 3 times in a day and still get him out that 3rd time. Sometimes I think we don't value the education of learning how to play baseball in the minor leagues instead of 2 innings safety. How about you let a guy fail and learn how to handle a lineup?
I was just looking at the Buffalo, and I agree 100%. But I was just looking at the Buffalo up-to-date records through Sunday. They're 3-6, and people will tell you, people in the organization, oh yeah, no, it's having a great year down there. We're seeing guys develop. We're this and that. You're 3-6. These guys are going to finish the season, say, with 20 games under 500 in Buffalo. Right. And then they're going to come to the majors and be expected to participate in a championship clubhouse, never having been there before. So I know that there's 2 different ways of looking at minor leagues, but you got to do more than just cater to keeping certain players healthy, as opposed to learning how to win.
And don't forget, at some point, winning matters down there for the affiliate. Like if you don't give them players and you never win, they're not going to be a Blue Jay affiliate. They're going to go, they don't care about us. And it's such a valuable spot for the team. You've got to try. I mean, it matters. There are owners who like sell tickets, and the market shows up if they win. And they haven't won. I don't know, when's the last time the Bisons won anything? I can't remember.
Yeah.
So it's going to matter. Like those minor league contracts, they don't, there's a time limit on them for the affiliate. So you got to win some games.
Yeah. No, we've seen that with the Jays in Syracuse and the Jays in Las Vegas, and then the Jays in Buffalo. I think during the Vegas and Buffalo, Buffalo may have been in the playoffs one time.
Maybe. Yeah. Right.
Producing some really good players in the meantime.
Right.
But they're just stopping on the way through to the majors.
Actually, I do remember when they were making a run, and there was 18,000 people in that ballpark. They loved it. Like when the Bisons were really making a run. It happened one time. You're right. And otherwise, there's going to be 500 people in the ballpark.
All right. Let's talk now about catching, because we mentioned Kirk out. We mentioned Heineman being the guy now. And Brandon Valenzuela, who had a really good spring training, and he's 24 years old, I think, and Heineman's 34. But can the Jays if everyone else that we mentioned earlier, the other four guys, because I also had on the list of 5 guys that were failing, I had Alejandro Kirk. He's not there obviously anymore. But with 4 guys getting back into their groove, can you carry a duo of Heineman and Valenzuela and still be winning?
Oof. I mean, you know what? I said this too. I kind of like Valenzuela, and I think you're going to find out at least. There's at least some reason for a little optimism. Heineman is who he is. And right now he's not even who he was. But we're going to find out. I think Valenzuela's got enough skills that you're intrigued a little bit, particularly defensively. So I want to see more of it, I guess, is what I'm saying. And you mentioned that too. I don't want to see Heineman playing 5 days a week. That's for sure.
Yeah. Heineman may have had the worst 11-inning stretch of any catcher anywhere, anytime in Blue Jays history.
It did feel bad for him, I got to admit. It was like, oh, bye.
In game 1 of the Sox series on Friday, he comes into the game, full count on Hayes with Hoffman pitching, and he strikes him out. So there's 2 out.
Yep.
The tying run on third base, and Hill, the pinch hitter, he's in the game already. First pitch, he bunts, and it's not even a good bunt. It's on the third baseline. Yep. The runner at third hesitates, and he's not coming. So you have all these options. You could eat the ball. You got now first and third, and you still only need 1 out to win the game.
Yeah.
You could, the guy's not coming so far. You could throw to first, which he chose to do. You could let the ball roll, see if it goes foul if you're not going to throw to first anyway. Pick the ball up, eat it, first and third. You just need 1 out. You could throw to first, and the guy's not coming. You got a chance to. No, the game's over if it's a good throw to first.
Yeah, it's a good. You make the play.
Yeah, you make the play. Your instinct is to make the play. It wasn't a good bunt. It wasn't that far from home plate. You make that play. So he throws on the second base side, and Vlad keeps his foot glued to the bag. Vlad wasn't charging. Somebody told me that he had to get back to the base. He didn't get back to the base. It was a surprise bunt. It was on the third baseline. He had no responsibility.
Agreed.
Other than going back to first base and taking the throw. So he tries to keep his foot on the bag and end the game, and the throw is like 5 feet off the end of his glove, and he can't make that. He needs to come off the base, block that play, keep the guy at third, or if the guy's coming home, he's got a chance to throw him out at the plate. But I think he stays at third, and it's first and third, and you've got a chance to get out of the game with Hoffman. The other mistake is Davis Schneider at second base, who had come in. Clement was out. He come in, and he doesn't go and cover. He doesn't go towards first and take that wild throw. It allows it to go to the grass, and the tying run score. Not only that, but the winning run gets to go to second base.
Right.
And then not having Barger in right field, having Jesus Sanchez, the single is out there. And we know the ball always finds your new defenders and your guys that can't make the plays. And he throws, and it's wild, and the winning run scores. So people are pointing fingers at Hoffman. And I think that's not a necessary thing to do, because Hoffman was pretty good that game. What do you think about the scenario that I just described?
No, that's right. I mean, everybody's burying Heineman, but as you know, everybody's got a job on the field, and they didn't do them. And I mean, if Sanchez is playing right field, that's never a good sign. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't want that. He needs to be stapled to left field when he's in the game. You're just not putting your best. I mean, it is what it is, but sometimes you're forced to. But you're right. I thought same thing with Vladdy particularly. You just got to make sure you get that ball. You come off the bag.
Yeah.
You keep the ball in front of you. Like,
definitely. There was an early point where he would know that I'm not going to make that play. I'm not going to get that out.
Yeah.
So that's when you come off the bag, throw yourself in front of that ball, make sure it doesn't get past you, and then either have a play at the plate or keep the runner at third. So that's simple.
You need a Matt Chapman over there. Just catch the fucking ball. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Oh, that was a beauty. Yeah. And I think there were those in the Blue Jays clubhouse when Matt Chapman was here who were put off by that, because it's the normal Blue Jays clubhouse is a kumbaya, and he wasn't kumbaya me. It was more his.
Wow, he was kind of a faux like leader, tries too hard, I think, sometimes. I mean, do you remember the time he buried Schneider? Visibly for pitching to Ohtani in the first inning? I'm sure you were there at the time. He forgot that maybe his pitcher wasn't so happy that saying he couldn't get Ohtani out in the first inning. I think Gosman was not happy about it. Save it, Matt.
Okay, now the next, before we finish burying Heineman, got to talk about his play, his base running. Rich.
The next day. We haven't even gotten to day 2 yet.
This is then Saturday, which is game 2 after he only caught 2. He caught 2 batters in Friday and was the GOAT. And then Saturday, he's on second base, runner on third. He's the tying run at second. And there's a fly ball to right field. It's not even a deep fly ball, so you don't know if the runner is going to tag or not. And he's at second base. He turns his back. He goes back to the base, turns his back completely on the third base coach, looking at the right fielder. He's not even looking to see whether the runner is scoring. When he sees the throw going to the plate, he turns around. He hesitates slightly going to third. And the run scores. Now they're 1 run down with him on second. No, he's thrown out at third. He's thrown out on a simple relay to third, thrown out by quite a bit. And they never recovered. Vlad was the next hitter.
Yeah, to me, that was the biggest mistake he made. The other 2 critical mistakes, they're physical. It'll happen.
Yeah.
They make a couple bad throws. I mean, you don't like them. But that's just a mental mistake. That's one where you just have to know better. You have to know situation, right? There just wasn't a whole lot of value in taking that base with Vladdy coming up. And that's a good ball game. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to be smarter. That, to me, that was the big mistake he made this weekend.
Well, it might be, but as you and I were discussing on text, there's a ground ball hit to Ernie Clement up the middle. Clement fakes to first because he's not going to throw Luis Angelo.
Great play.
Cunha. And runner goes around third. Clement throws to third. Clement throws home because the runner is going home. And then Heineman takes the ball, runs him back towards Clement. I think it was Clement.
Yeah, he threw it. Ernie threw to third. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
ran over.
Heineman lobs the ball down the left field line in a rundown that would have ended the inning. And they were a run down, so it's not like they definitely were going to win that game. But then there were 3 runs down after the throw paw. And like that was his third error in 11. His third mistake, not error, third huge mistake in 11 innings. And then after the game, when they had lost 6-3, Hazel and Ben Nicholson Smith went to his locker and he was in tears. I don't know whether that shows accountability or weakness. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure I remember seeing that in the clubhouse.
Not in game 8 of a season.
Right. That's
so.
That's
I mean, I think anyone listening could understand that I don't want to see him catching 3 out of every 4 games because he's 34 years old, and there's a reason that at 34 he's still a backup major league catcher.
Well, and he was barely that. I mean, and I don't mean it's easy to pile on right now, but he you know what I mean. But he hasn't exactly been a major leaguer for most of his career. He's been mostly a minor leaguer. So I think you're just asking a lot of him at this point. 34 years old, right? To be a starting catcher in the major leagues, and I think there's lots of reasons to find out what you got in Valenzuela. There's some, like I said, there's some reasons to be optimistic. So let's see it. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So it should be at least 50-50 between those 2 guys because Heineman has not earned a 2/3 split or a 3/4 split.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. There's good news with the rotation in terms of if Pete Walker would ever listen to me, which he never does. I give him all my suggestions and he never listens. He nods and goes, "Hey, that's good."
Yeah.
This one is sort of has been handled before, but the Jays clearly wanted to line up Scherzer, Gosman, and Cease. They were fixated on this Dodgers series, which is why they allowed a bullpen start in the White Sox series, because Scherzer could have pitched on the Sunday and Lauer could have pitched on the Saturday, but he had the flu. So, but with the way that the schedule is, with a couple of off days, and with the way that the rotation is lined up, they do not need a 5th starter spot until April the 18th. We're on April the 6th as we record. Till April the 18th. Who can be ready by April the 18th? Do you think it'll be a Patrick Corbin start, or do you think it will be Savage?
But you're right. I think it's going to be Savage, and then Corbin he's there if you need him, like he pitched tomorrow, type thing. I think Trey's probably showing that he's close enough to give you at least a certain number of innings, right? And that's who you want getting the ball. So from everything I heard, it went well. So in Buffalo, so I in 12 days, of course, I think.
I mean, this has been the way that it's lined up ever since Cody Ponce got hurt, where you could go to the 18th. But they chose not to. They chose to use the 1 start so they could get the Dodgers series lined up the way they want. Mookie Betts is on the IL as of yesterday, which is a break for the Jays. So do you see it even as close to being a rematch of the World Series, or is it just another series against a very good team?
Well, I mean, you sell it as that. Like I say, I just don't feel like the Jays are firing on all the cylinders they need to. I mean, obviously the Dodgers are the Dodgers. They they're never going. They are who they are. What are they? 7-2 so far.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I mean, they're coming in fine. the Jays aren't what they were last year at this point.
Yeah.
So, but it'll be fun. I think maybe this is what they need. Maybe you've got your pitchers lined up, and maybe this kind of gives you that big game feel again, and they come out and they show up. So, and I kind of expect they will a little bit. So,
you're saying that they may have been looking ahead to this series, looking past the White Sox, which earlier you said was
contradict myself. Well, they better look straight ahead right now because the Dodgers are here. So.
Yeah. So just in terms of phases of the game, starters have been very good.
Yep.
Offense, not very good.
Very bad.
Bullpen, little, if anything.
Small.
And defense has not, there's been moments on defense. And like the Ernie Clement behind the back feed, that's spectacular. That's something that you anticipate from a creative up the middle. A couple of nice catches in the outfield, but they can be better.
I'll tell you though, can you be an elite outfielder if you can't throw? I mean, sorry, Dalton. Like, geez, like what happened?
Great point. Yeah, any fly ball out there, doesn't matter if it's medium, they're challenging them.
Yeah.
And the broadcasters will say, he made sure the runners didn't move up. Well, a guy with a good arm would have challenged the guy at the plate and had a chance, but they're just running on him.
They are. It's
the same thing.
What's that?
Sanchez, same thing.
Yeah.
And then Straw's arm is a little better, but nothing spectacular.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. The only guy that got out there is Barger with an arm, right? So I think it's a story to follow with Varsho. It's just nobody was talking about it, but that arm seems to be missing still.
Do you think that it's become an accepted part of it, but do you think that given it's his final season with the contract that he's got and that he's healthy, that George Springer could be back in the outfield? Because he's a better outfielder than two of those guys.
Well, you're right. I know he had a little bit of a tough start last year, but when he was in there, George was an elite outfielder at one point. I think I would, if he can handle it. I'd see if he can get out there a couple times a week. Probably, you're right. Probably better. He'd be better out there than Sanchez in right field.
Also, if he's looking for another contract next year, if he proves he can still play the outfield, it's good for him.
Right.
Okay, let's move on now to Vladdy. Vladdy, to me, he hasn't run the bases well. He's playing defense well. He's not hitting for power. He hit the home run, and he hit one to the fence, but it was against Anthony Kay, both of them, which is another thing. How could you allow, as a Blue Jays lineup, Anthony Kay to pitch 4 effective innings against you? And then,
even Burke the other day, like, come on, just kept rolling through the lineup. That's correct. Like it's the White Sox bullpen here. It's not exactly the Yankees.
So what have we seen from Vlad? Is it a concern? To me, I don't think it's a concern that we haven't seen power, because like the production for the first 9 games for any player other than a guy who's supposed to be an elite slugger superstar would be good numbers. I mean, he's getting big hits, he's drawing walks, he's not swinging wildly at balls out of the zone like we've seen at times earlier in his career. He seems very comfortable with the fact that he's the face of this franchise. He's not trying too hard. He had great success in the postseason and the WBC. So I, for one, am not concerned about him moving forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I do think I agree. I mean, Vlad's just such an elite bat to ball guy, exit velocity, all the stuff you want to talk about. I do think when you're paying him $500 million, though, you're going to need to see some power. But I don't think Vladdy is a 40 home run guy. I don't think that's who he is. I think he's more closer to hit 300 guy. with obviously, a crap ton of doubles and a 30 home run guy, which is excellent. But
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason to worry. He looks fine up there. You know what I mean? Like you're afraid to pitch to Vladdy.
Yeah,
the other team.
I see 305 hitter, 42 doubles, 30 homers, 110 walks, and 80 strikeouts.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive.
Those are impressive numbers, and don't forget $500 million, but they're not paying it all at once.
Right.
Like
you don't get a lot. You just don't get the same thing for $500 million anymore.
I've been in the game 50 years. I could be considered a millionaire if you added up all my salaries.
No question.
No one would ever say I was overpaid. Okay, that's Vlad. I mean, we're not concerned about Vlad. There's 4 other guys in that lineup that need to step it up, and we mentioned their numbers through the first 5 games,
right?
Or through the first 9 games. And the catching is going to be iffy. But if the other 4 guys, if the lineup, the other 8 guys in the lineup step it up and do what they can do, then you can carry a Valenzuela if he's the better defender, or if it's a 50-50 split, because they're both switch hitters. There's no platoon needed or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, so we've covered all of those issues. Now let's update our evaluation of the newcomers to the team. Let me just start here with Dylan Cease. He's had 2 starts.
Yep.
One of them really excellent, his debut. The other one, it was outdoors in Chicago against his old team. I mean, even the numbers weren't despicable. I mean, it was, but for a star player who showed what he could do in that first start, they were sort of not what people were hoping for or expected.
Well, I think with Cease, this is going to be the thing, right? Like he's got elite stuff, but if there's ever been a concern with Cease, it's command, and we saw in game 2, he didn't have the same command he had in game 1. The stuff's there, but you get behind guys a little bit, walk some, and it's a different game when you're doing that. So he was fine, he was okay, but obviously that's the Dylan Cease that has just kind of held him back a little bit, I think, in his career. You want to see the first guy more.
Right. I think I agree 100%. I wasn't even thinking in that direction until you mentioned it. But the thing that stood out in his start against the White Sox, and it was his first start back to his original major league, which is an emotional, and the weather was way different. It was different in Florida and different than playing indoors at Rogers Center. But he was falling behind. He was falling behind 1-0, 2-0, 3-1. And it made him come in with pitches that were more predictable, and his success was not there. So his next start, of course, is against the Dodgers.
Yep.
A team with which he's familiar. And he's back indoors again. We'll see. But I'm not worried about Dylan Cease. I think he's one of the great signing acquisitions that the Jays.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Third base, Kaz Okamoto. He struck out 50% of the time. Everybody's raving about his contributions and that he'll adjust. But striking out 50% of the time against Major League heat and spin is different than making adjustments. I mean, can he do it? Can he overcome that 50% strikeout rate and become a productive Major League hitter? My first point is that he shouldn't be hitting fourth or fifth in the lineup. He should be 6, 7, 8.
Well, and the problem with that is you're right, but it feels like the Jays got a lot of 6, 7, 8 hitters, right? So somebody's got to fill that role. I think the one thing that is surprising is the strikeouts, because even comparing like this weekend, Murakami and Okamoto. I mean, maybe it's unfair to do, but both coming over this year. Murakami was the guy who has swing and miss all over his resume, and Okamoto does not. So,
Right.
He's more of the bat to ball, put it in play, kind of a good fit for this team. But yeah, so far we've seen a little bit of the swing and miss. So I think there's probably a little transition, that you got to get through. I like him. I mean, I think his strength is going to be with the bat. I mean, I think he's just an average defender, average arm. So if his contribution needs to be with the bat, that's for sure. But you're right. Yeah. He's not supposed to be a 4-hitter.
Yeah. I think that he is not an answer to replace Bo Bichette, but he's an answer to be part of a tandem of hitters, or the replacement of Bo's numbers. But it's not just him doing it. He's going to have to be part of it, and he's going to have to be better than he's been.
Yeah, for sure. And with that middle infield, you're fine having him over there. Like it's pure joy watching those two guys up the middle play. Jimenez is just such an exceptional defender, and Ernie too. So you can have Okamoto over there, and he's plenty good enough to get it done. But he's right. I mean, he needs to hit. That's his role.
Yeah. Well, what was your thought when he crashed over the tarp into the screen and came up about 4 feet short of the ball?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, just hit.
Yeah. Okay, Tyler Rogers. There was a situation, they were going to the 9th inning tie game. Tyler Rogers and Hoffman were up. You could pitch Hoffman in the 9th to make sure he gets in the game, and then have Tyler Rogers in the 10th. But they pitched Tyler Rogers in the 9th and Hoffman in the 10th. Do you think some of that had to do with a runner on second base? Do you want a guy like Tyler Rogers who allows contact? And like 2 ground balls could score the guy? Or is it just that's the way it is? He's a setup guy, pitches the 9th, Hoffman pitches the 10th. And what do you think Tyler Rogers' role could be? Because he doesn't, he throws strikes, allows contact, but where does he stand in terms of your relief staff?
I think he's high leverage for me. You know what I mean? Like, you're right, though. It's not swing and miss. Maybe like a Louis Varland can give you, right? He's not a Hundy. So there is that issue, I suppose, where you're gonna sometimes when you allow contact, stuff happens. Balls are in play, so to speak. But I love Tyler Rogers. I love the different look. I think high leverage, give him a clean 8th inning. I think he's he's got to be up there for me. I don't know. What do you think? I just think he knows what he's doing out there.
Yeah, I talked to him after his first hold, and that was when Schneider said he's after the hold record. I talked to him in a clubhouse, and he's such a charming, intelligent, mature guy. Yeah. He said, I said, yeah, I know what I can do. I know what. And I saw that holds record. I was a teammate with the guy who's got the record. And I said, that's a goal for me. So now he's up to 152, and there's only 8 guys with 200 holds. So it's not like he's aspiring to be the closer. He wants to be the hold guy.
He doesn't want saves.
That's perfect for a bullpen that could use that sort of a role, somebody who's reliable. Which brings me to Spencer Miles. Right. Now, Spencer Miles, we asked last week after his debut, which was successful, and his family was there, and it was all the feel-good stuff. Is he, because Paxton Schultz struck out 8 in his first, and then now he got disappeared to some other team.
For some reason, you love that comparison.
Is Spencer Miles going to be Paxton Schultz or Braden Fisher? Because Braden Fisher turned into a pretty reliable guy. He's like up there with, to me, he's up there with Tyler Rogers in terms of reliable setup guys. So is Spencer Miles, which one is he closer to?
Well,
because he's had.
You certainly hope he's closer. What's that?
Miles has had 2 outings that weren't as effective since that debut.
Well, but the problem is, Griff, he's a Rule 5 guy. Like it's not like he's cut his teeth and been there, right? I mean, this kid's a ball pitcher, not like that. You're asking a lot. You're asking a lot.
14 pro innings for his debut.
So
that's outrageous.
I mean, at least Paxton Schultz has a resume of sorts. You're asking a lot for this kid to especially if you bullpen kind of goes a little sour here and there. You get a little deep into where you want to be. I mean, you're asking a lot to carry the kid through the whole season. So let's see. I mean, his stuff is good, clearly. But like was talking about earlier, sometimes you got to learn how to pitch. It's just not about throwing hard and, max effort. You got to learn how to pitch, and it's a tough place to learn in the major leagues.
Yeah, he also, when you come in with 14 professional innings, your Rule 5, you can't be optioned out. You have to be sent back if you're not going to stay. That's a tough spot to be with a team that's the defending AL champs and doesn't want to give you that rope. They want you to perform right now.
You have to. They're trying to sneak a guy through, yet win a World Series. It's not usually how that works. You know what I mean? You sneak a guy through when you're the Athletics.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Or you get lucky with Jorge Bell from the Phillies when the Jays were struggling. All of a sudden, he becomes a key part in an MVP. You luck out because you had an opportunity because you weren't expecting that much. So. Yeah,
you had a roster spot.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can afford to do that all year.
No. We'll wrap it up here with a quick review of the ABS system. It's another one of my favorite topics.
Not this again. I think we're going to be talking all year about it.
There's an update in that I asked Josh Steiner in the pregame on the last homestand if the next thing would be to have, I said, one of your 14 or 15 nerds back there to check on every umpire, every challenge, look at the video, see where they are weak, and then use that when that umpire is behind the plate. And he looked at me and he didn't even blink. He said, "We're already doing that." Does that surprise you?
No, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, anytime you got a new rule, somebody's going to try and hack the system, right? Why not? You get tendencies on people. Why not umpires? They do it already. What I did find interesting, though, unintended consequences is like I've seen it a couple times. Once in the Jays game where the other manager got pissed because Sanchez didn't do it right away. He looked in the dugout and then did it. Like I'm just curious to see how that progresses in the league. You know what I mean? It's like
there was one on the weekend with the White Sox where a White Sox hitter did it late, and the Jays dugout didn't complain. But I mean, the hitter was looking into the Jays dugout. It's not like he was looking into his own dugout and giving a signal. Yeah. So we'll have more on the ABS for sure, right? It's one of my.
Yes, we will. Something will come up.
Before we sign off, and Konnor Griffin, what's just a quick opinion on a shortstop with the Pirates, future of the organization along with Skeens, signing on the day he's going to make his major league debuts? As they're saying, I don't know if he signed the deal, about 7 years to carry him into free agency. And he hadn't even played a game yet. What do you think?
The game's been trending that way, right? I think there's a lot of reasons for both sides. That makes sense. I mean, for the player, you never know. They could not perform. They could get hurt. He's got life-changing money, and he's still in line, if it goes well, for a major contract after. And teams like the Pirates, they've locked up a star for a little while. So, we're trending away from holding guys hostage for service time and signing guys earlier. There's a little risk on both sides, but a worthy risk. I like seeing it. And you know that your guy's going to be there, right? The fan base can sink their teeth into it. They can go buy the jersey.
Yeah.
Nice.
My comment on that is that this is clearly going to help ownership in the next CBA negotiation. You know, they point to young kids who aren't getting screwed and kept down and kept under team control with minimum, no matter what their performance is. They can point to, there's been like a half dozen to 12 guys that have, young guys that have signed long-term contracts that are star players, and ownership can point to that and say, hey, it's working, you know? So that's my thought on that.
You just hope they're not Wander Franco.
Yeah, well, you can't.
The odd time it doesn't go well.
You never bat 1,000, you know.
You never bat 1,000.
Just on the, we're on the morning as we record of the March Madness, the championship game, and in the Final Four game, my Michigan Wolverines were facing your Arizona, whatever they are, and Arizona Wildcats. I think
yeah,
so.
I think so.
And my Michigan came out on top, but now they're in Connecticut with some crazy coach. I don't know. Maybe I'll steal some of his gesticulations and stuff for the Ironbacks. You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think your Michigan's looks like a safe. They must be a big favorite, I'm guessing, in the game coming up.
Yeah.
So.
But Connecticut's got the mojo in the final, so we'll see.
They do.
The Jays aren't worried about the NCAA final. They're worried about the Dodgers. And next week we'll have a recap of that and anything else that happens when they welcome the Twins to the stadium for a 6-game homestand. So we'll talk to you next week, and appreciate everyone for their support. And don't forget to share with your friends and send us a comment. And thank you, Mal, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Yes, sir.